everyone, it's Keela here for Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for today's video where we're going to make buttered popcorn. Now this video has been filmed over a couple of months because I did start to make it back in December, but it was just so busy I actually didn't get a chance to make the soap until January. But let's go and check out how I make buttered popcorn soap. Let's go. Before I can make my popcorn embeds, I need to make myself a silicone mold. Now previously I've always used Pinky Sil, but it is not a cheap silicone, and it does have a couple of other sort of issues in that it's a very firm silicone, so it can be hard to unmold. So I was looking around and I came across this Silly Create on Amazon, and I've left links down in the description box to where you can actually pick this one up off Amazon. I used it to create some other molds and absolutely love the flexibility that this one gave, so I got some of this to do my popcorn mold with. Now for my popcorn I am using a caramel coated popcorn. The reason being, when it's not coated it's actually quite soft, and the silicone, I did try it once before and it really does not work when it is a non-coated popcorn. The silicone gets into all the tiny little gaps, which we do want some definition of our popcorn, but not as much as what it was giving to me. And also I think that it's going to be much easier to unmold these. When I did the mold without it, it was extremely hard to get all the popcorn bits out. Some of it has actually gone moldy now, so I've thrown that original mold away that I made. So I'm going to give it a go this time with my caramel popcorn. Now what I'm going to do is go through my popcorn pieces, pick out the ones I want, and then I'm going to put a bit of hot glue on the bottom and I'm going to stick them into my mold just like that. And it's really important to realize that once you've used this popcorn you cannot eat it, so please don't go eating your popcorn once we go unmolding this. So I'm going to go through, I'm kind of picking which pieces I want out of here. What you have to remember is what you see on the top here, so the tops of these popcorn, this is what my mold is going to look like when I pour my soap into it. So when I'm looking at the pieces, I'm kind of thinking, do I want that as my top piece, that, or that? Now I'm kind of thinking I want that to be the top, so I'm going to put glue on the bottom and into my mold. So I'm going to go through, stick all of these into my mold, and then we'll be back to mix the silicone. Okay, so now that I've got all of my popcorn pieces in here, it's time to mix the silicone. I've tried to make sure I've got enough space between all of my popcorn pieces to get that silicone in between them so that we don't end up with any holes, but also making sure that we're not going to waste too much either. So I'm pretty happy with that. So the Silly Create silicone is so easy to use. It is a 1-to-1 ratio by weight. So if you've got 100 grams of part A, you need 100 grams of part B. So it's really, really easy and simple to use. You get about a 5 to 7 minute working time with it. So there's plenty of time to mix them together. And there is about a 30-minute setting time depending upon weather conditions. If you're in a really humid sort of area, it's a very hot day, it may take a little bit longer than 30 minutes. But let's get this all mixed up, ready to go. So I've got my scales, I've got my jug, which is specifically for mixing silicone in. I don't think it really matters if you start with part A or part B, but my brain tells me to start with part A. I'm going to start off by pouring in about 350 grams of part A. So I'm going to make about 700 grams. I think that should be enough. In fact, let's go for 600 because we can always make up more. So we'll go 300 part A, 300 part B, and if we need more, we can always make some more up. There is plenty of working time to be able to do that. This a stir to combine it. We're going to stir quite gently. We don't want to mix in a whole heap of bubbles, so be very, very gentle while doing it. If you do end up with bubbles, it's okay. You just need to pour this back out into your mold slowly so the bubbles do pop. And the only downside to this particular silicone is that it is white on white, so it's very hard to tell when it is fully combined. But if that is something that does worry you, all you need to do is add a little bit of colorant into it. I'd probably add a little bit of mica powder so that it doesn't affect the silicone, and then you can see when that has been evenly mixed up. Alright, I'm pretty happy with how that is looking. You can kind of see there is a slight difference between the two, so you can actually see when all the streaks have been taken out and that it is well combined. What we're going to do now is grab our mould back in. I've popped it onto a tray so I can easily move it around, and now I'm just going to very, very slowly pour this over the top. And when it goes in, you want to make sure that you've got enough silicone that you are going to cover that popcorn so that there's no holes in the bottom of your mould. Alright, so I had a fair bit sort of left over and I didn't want to overfill this and make it too difficult to actually use, so I have just poured the rest of it into here, but I don't have quite enough, so all I'm going to do is make up just a little bit more silicone in my pot. Let's grab my scales. I honestly think I'm probably only going to need about a total of 50 grams, so we're just going to do 25 of each part. I can always add more if I need to later, like we're doing right now. So now I've got that extra sort of 50 grams done up, I'm just going to finish pouring it straight in here. So you do have plenty of time. It's always better to make up less and add more as you go along. I've got a rogue little bean, so let's get him out. That's better. I had already made myself a coffee bean mold before, but I figured it doesn't hurt to have a couple of them. So now we have our popcorn mold done up, plus a bonus one. Great thing with this silicone is that it is self-leveling, so I don't have to do much more. I am just going to go run the heat gun just very gently across the top of here, just to burst any of these bubbles that are appearing on the top here. I'm going to leave it sit here for about an hour. Even though it is a 30-minute cure time on this one, I like to leave it for that little bit longer just to be completely sure. Once it's set up, I'll bring you back and we'll unmold them. So these have been sitting here for a little longer than the half an hour that they needed, so they are definitely all set up, and now it is time to get these out. So what I'm going to do is just break the seal between the edge of my core flute and the silicone. I'm going to get my fingers underneath it and pull it out. Do the coffee bean one later. Now that we've got that out, it is time to start getting this popcorn out of here. This is going to take me a little while just to kind of dig it all out. I will then clean this out by melting down some melt and pour soap and pouring it in here first up, and that will pick up any of this sort of leftover residue that is here. Now, even though this is a food safe silicone, don't eat the popcorn that you are pulling out of it, just in case any of the silicone wasn't fully cured together. You don't want to make yourself sick. Okay, so we've got the oils and the lye water, and I have all of my popcorn bits here. I ended up doing 4 batches of popcorn in this mold, so hopefully we've got enough to put a fair amount of popcorn on the top of this soap. I am also super excited about this because I originally got this fragrance oil because I love the smell of buttered popcorn when you pass the cinema. I don't like eating it, but I do like the smell of it. And when I got it and I smelled it, I thought this is going to turn my soap brown. It just smells that sort of brown sort of smell. How am I going to do the design I want? But I've just pulled up the information about this buttered popcorn from off of the Fragrance Shed, and apparently there's 0 vanillin, but it does discolor slightly, which I'd say is the ET vanillin, making this that yellow color. So hopefully a little bit of titanium dioxide will keep that at bay. If not, it might go a sort of yellowish color, which will suit the whole theme anyway. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and do the base of this soap with some red and some white, and then we'll decorate the top with the popcorn pieces. I'm not going to do the stripes. I couldn't work out a good way of doing it without wasting too much soap. So we're just going to go for a sort of swirly pattern inside, or we might even try and do a bit of a wall pour and see if we can get some stripes going that way. All right, let's get on to making it. So this has been sitting here for about 20 minutes just waiting for it to firm up. This is such a well-behaving fragrance. What I'm going to do is that bit of soap that you saw me messing around with trying to get in here, I'm just going to sprinkle some of this on. I wanted it to look a bit like that melted butter. I'm just putting it on the bottom here, so it gives the popcorn something to stick to, and if I don't have quite enough popcorn to fill all this in, you will see bits of melted butter slipped through all that popcorn. So that is looking good like that. Let's grab our little popcorn pieces, and I'm just going to randomly scatter them all over. This is still soft, but at least they are going to sit on here. Let's just start randomly popping them on. Well, that's not random, that's 3 in a row. We're not going to do that. So I really do want this to be very random, look like popcorn just popped all over the place. So not gonna really think about it. I'm gonna try and so we've got at least 1 full piece on each of these bars, and then I'll go back through and kind of fill in all the gaps with what I've got left. I really do hope I can, get lots and lots of popcorn. We'll see how we go. This first one will give me an idea of how many times I actually need to replicate that mold to get enough popcorn. I'm hoping 4 is enough. Alright, so it looks like 4 is just enough. I'm just going to dribble a little bit more of this sort of faux looking butter on the top. Let's get it going here. Speaking of popcorn, our microwave at home I actually do like to eat popcorn, but I have to be careful which ones I get because a lot of them do have milk in them. But I have found a few that I really do like that don't have milk. And there's actually one called cinnamon donuts, which I found. It says it's got milk, but I can't see it on the ingredients list, and I never react to it when eating it. But the first time I cooked this cinnamon donuts popcorn in our microwave took on this smell of cinnamon donuts, and it was there for days, and my husband was like, what on earth have you cooked in the microwave? It's like, just some popcorn. Anyway, I've had this flavor again a couple of times since, and now our microwave has this permanent smell of cinnamon donuts. Luckily, it doesn't actually affect the taste of anything else we put in there. So like if I'm cooking peas or rice or something in the microwave, it doesn't actually affect the taste of any of those. But every time you open our microwave up, it's just got this smell of cinnamon donuts in there. It's so good, but it's pretty bad as well because it always makes me want some more of the popcorn. But they are for special movie nights, so can't have that every night. Alright, I am pretty pleased with how that is looking. I did put some fragrance oil in here, so I might just go and put the rest of that into like a little tester one so someone can have that. Don't want to go too overboard, but I do want to hide that bit of red which I dropped in that bit of popcorn. Alright, so that is going to be fine. And then I'm just going to give it a bit of a dusting. It's already got a bit of extravagance gold on the popcorn. I'm just going to give it a bit of this bronze sparks as well, just to give it that real sort of glistening, buttery sort of look. I know what I want. Alright, there it is. There is our buttered popcorn in the mold. I'm loving how it looks. It's smelling so good as well. Can't wait to get this cut open because I really don't know whether or not I'm going to get any form of red and white stripes in there at all. We'll just have to wait and see. We're back to cut into buttered popcorn. It is smelling so good, and I am dying to see what the inside of this one looks like. I've never really had much success with those sort of wall pours, but this one stayed so fluid. We might actually have some gorgeous swirls in here as well. It was a little bit soft when I unmolded it, so I have damaged the corner, but that's okay because we're going to actually chop that corner off. We're all lined up. Let's cut through. It just smells like buttered popcorn. I might have to treat myself to some tonight, though probably, as I said, I'll either go for the sweet and salty or the cinnamon one that I found. Alright, let's take a look. Oh my goodness, isn't that stunning? I have never ever had success pouring like this to this degree. I am absolutely in love with it. And there is the top with the bits of popcorn. So it almost looks like a popcorn bucket. Oh, and it smells so good. I am so super happy with how this one has come up. I have tried doing those sort of wall pours and, you know, layering my colors together, but every time I've done it, the fragrance is just completely and utterly misbehaved on me and ends up being a failure. But this time it has worked. I am so pleased. If you are looking for a very well behaving fragrance, this buttered popcorn, which I got from off of the fragrance shed, which could possibly be a Nurture soap one if it's from there, I'm not sure. Now if you want to know how well that this one behaves in terms of discoloring, come and follow me over on the Instagram or Facebook pages, and I will post pictures of this one a bit closer to the cure. I do also try and put final pictures of the soaps on the videos, but it just depends upon how far ahead I am with my filming. So this one may have a cured photo at the start of it as well. But I'm so super happy with this one. I hope you have enjoyed coming along as I made my little popcorn mold and then made the soap as well. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. And until the next video comes out, I hope you have a good one, and I will see you then. Bye.